Sorry, can I give one example that happened last night? So it just reminds me. So I'm very much independent, so it's not something that comes easily to me. And my husband already knows that when we get in the car, I'm usually gonna tell him which way to go. And usually when he does, like, because he believes that he knows better than Waze, and I believe Waze is like the go-to for, right, how to clear things. So, and it's amazing because Hashem, God has already shown me twice where I said, no, we're following the Waze, and I completely got screwed by it. There was just a whole build-up, and his way would have been much faster. So I should know by now not to say anything, but I don't, and I still say. And so last night we got in the car and we start driving. We had a Hanukkah party in the valley, and as we get towards the freeway, we see it's very backed up, and the streets are also going off is also backed up. And he says to me, he looks at me right away with the kids in the car, and he's like, so which way do you think we should go? Should we go with the freeway or should we go with the streets? And literally I'm about to say, I'm turning on my Waze as I'm looking to see which one they're saying, and I'm about to say, okay, let's do this or let's do that. And I looked at him and I said, this was to me being needy, like making myself vulnerable. I said, you know what, which way do you think? Like, what do you think? Should we take, do you think, you know, I even said to him, and I even said to him, I said, you know LA so much better than I do, and you know the valley so much better. Where do you think would be the best way for us to go? And I'm patting myself on the back because my kids in the back are like, who is this woman and where did she come from? Yeah, what did you do to my mother? Like, bring her mother back. But I asked him, and then he said, he goes, you know what, I don't have a preference, and I really, whatever you decide, we're going to have the bracha with whatever decision you make. We're going to see the, no, that's what he said to me. Whatever you decide, we're going to see the, he was so, I think, like, beyond floored, and I think he was also afraid that if he picks one way, it's going to be the wrong way. It could go both ways. Yeah, probably more likely that one, the likelier, yeah, that he was like, okay, I'm going to pick something that she's going to be like, I told you.
And then he's thinking, please God, let him go.
He did. But we did, but we went with his, but he said to me, really, whatever you pick. And I said, okay, let's take the freeway. And we started going on the freeway. And then literally right before the exit where we can really either have to stay on the freeway or get off still to the streets, he says to me again, because right away he's obviously thinking we should take the streets. So he says to me again, okay, now's the time. If you want to change your first choice, now's the time to make another decision. And my son, my 20-year-old who's in the back, he's like, well, Dad, Waze says to stay on the freeway. And I said, and I looked again, and I looked at my husband, and I said, you know what, I think you want the streets, and you're probably thinking the streets are better, let's do the streets. And we did, and guess what? It was empty. Streets were empty, and we literally got there in 6 minutes, which would have been forever probably on the freeway. Yeah, parking lot, yeah. But it was so clear to me that was me sort of being vulnerable and saying, I need you. I need you to guide us as to how we're going to get there, when normally I would be the one that takes that on.
Fantastic.
That's for me a biggie. So, and I mean, isn't it, even with what she's saying though, isn't it that eventually if you don't give him things to do, and because you're doing everything the right way, then eventually he won't care to do them anyways. Meaning it's almost like you are going to end up with triple load. I mean, I feel like that with anything. I remember when I was first getting married and everyone says, oh, husbands are terrible when they go to the store. Like, they never get what you need and they always come back with the wrong thing and so on and so forth. Or when they're washing dishes, there's always going to be something that breaks. And this older woman in her, at that point, she seemed older, and now she doesn't seem that much older. But back then, she was in her late 40s and she was still old, agent. And she said to me, she said, let me tell you, send them to the store, have them wash the dishes, and there's going to be some dishes that are going to break, and there's going to be wrong items that are brought, but keep sending. Because the minute you say, okay, I'm just going to do it, or it's not worth it, or then they really aren't. It's going to be, well, why not? It's easy to just let go and let the other person take it over. If you're going to do it right anyways, and you don't need me to do it. I think that needing part is being able to let go of some things and saying, he's not going to do it the way I like it. And that's the right way, the way I like it. But that's to still allow them that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
No, but you know what? I even tell my kids, like, my son was like, I don't want to go to school.
your perspective is everything. Your day is in your hands. Your perspective is everything. So even on a very basic, general level, just with life, and not even getting into the nitty-gritty of your marriage and, well, he does this, but that bothers me, and I'm going to change it, and why it's going to work. Just with everything in life, your perspective and working on yourself is going to only improve things and make it better. So it does translate into marriage very much so.
So let me just ask you, I mean, from those of you who've been around for a couple of years, and anybody who has something to say about it, what changes, give us an example. Like why did it work? What's one thing that improved that you worked on, that you were shocked helped your marriage, that only you worked on, that he didn't need to go and spend 6 months in some kind of
I think everything that happens, it's like you're responding to him, he's reacting, responding to you. It's constantly interaction.
So give one example in your married life. I mean, without saying much more about your husband, or you or anybody. I want one example of the shocking thing that happened in your relationship that seems like only he would be able to accomplish that with him working on it. If you worked on it and he got better at it. Yeah.
I think for me, it was a very big turnaround. I don't know what led up to it necessarily, because I remember we're in the class, but just that I remember you telling us I remember the class you saying, we all laughed, and you said when you let go of certain things, you're going to feel the stress roll off your shoulders. And I said, oh, it's worth it just for that. And I remember that so clearly with us with the time issue. I'm a very on time, and my husband's much more relaxed, and we did so much work from so many different angles with, appreciation and with letting go and with not, from so many different angles. But that's something I can really reflect back on, is when I let go, and not only let go, learn to appreciate, like we just discussed now, how, hey, that light bulb went off, and I was like, maybe his way is better than mine, or maybe there is a lot of value in his way that would never have crossed my mind for 20 years. I was so sure that everyone should be just like me, and then, that realization of maybe there's value in that, and that to me was and he didn't even know I was doing anything, he didn't do anything, but all of a sudden, looking back, I see everything is so much better because of it. To me, that was a big game changer. It's just one example that came to mind.
Fantastic. And did you notice any growth in him in any of the areas that previously?
For sure.
For sure.
But it's hard to decide.
We're not here to fix our husbands.
Yeah.
And we have to get that clear.
I don't even know if it was from him, or it's just I see things so differently that I'm so much more attuned to also seeing the other person's perspective of where it's coming from. A lot of times you look at a situation and you just see the end result. I've gotten so much better at seeing what leads up to that and putting myself in their shoes to see why that all transpired, and intention behind it versus not intention behind it, that all comes together.
Maybe that you've learned in the last 2 years.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Stay tuned.
Yeah, stay tuned. We can all
Okay,
gather.
very good. Are there any final comments? And we're going to end the show. I'm going to give you your homework. Any questions or comments about the topic? Excellent. First of all, thank you very much, everybody, for coming. Let me give you the homework. I mentioned it before. Does anyone remember what I said? It was,
No, I didn't have to find it. And
so hold on a second. It had to do with, it's so funny. What? Oh, you are awesome. Huh? Okay, what is it?
When you nitpicked your husband, was it connected to not feeling cherished?
Okay,
that was last week's. Yeah, that was last week's homework, and I don't know where I put this now.
Hold on a second. It had to do with, go back and watch it. Okay, I'm just going to have to come up with a new homework because I don't remember what then. Okay, so the homework for this week, and let's do it on, since we're going to be moving on from cherished next week. You can still always take questions from it, but let's do something about cherished this week. Something about, there's a, maybe we should do it on neediness, because I think that was hard for people. So there's this whole one time between this week, this Wednesday, and next Wednesday, between this week and next week, okay? Between last week and this week, between one time, By next week, one time, the homework is.
That's the ding ding of the end of class now.
One time between now and next week, the emotions that you get when your husband rescues you and is the exterminator and gets the bug, that huge wave of feeling of, oh, he's come to my rescue. Work on that and feel that one time this week on an area different than bugs. It could be a bug, but I'm just saying, this is a conjured thing. This is something you are actively appreciating. Like, like you're sitting there and if you could be late, whatever, and he walks through the door exactly when he needed to, and you're going to be on time because he did that. He said, oh yeah, I decided to come 10 minutes earlier, whatever. That feeling of you rescued me, of I needed you and you came through for me. And it could be something very simple. It doesn't have to be different or strange with what he usually did. It could be something he does every night. But conjure in yourself that deep appreciation and that deep acknowledgement of I needed you and you came through. Okay? That's the homework. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The Ladies Talk Show, your host, Leah Retirement. Thank you everybody for joining us. And we've got a raffle. Hold on a second.
And we are back again next week, Wednesday, same time, 11 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. So please join us once again next week for the Ladies Talk
We've
Show.
got the raffle. Shoshi, we have the cards as quick as possible. Just throw them in there. You don't need to hold them. Just do them.